Hey there, Danny here. Welcome to my ramblings. Um, do you have a grandma? Maybe two, maybe multiple. Do you have a grandma that speaks the truth no matter what? She's brutally blunt. She will literally say what the rest of the room is thinking, but is too afraid to say. Do you have a grandma like that? Okay, well, I had a grandma like that too. She never held back. She said the way it was. She didn't care whose feelings she hurt. And a lot of my friends and people that I knew had grandmas that were the same. And I remember being a kid and thinking to myself, I want to be just like them. I want to be literally that confident that I can just speak my mind freely. I want to be that real because that's what we're missing in our society. The realness. Everybody wants to sugarcoat everything and not just tell the truth. Sugarcoating is not giving them the full truth. Sometimes, if you love people, friends, family, significant others, it doesn't matter. Sometimes they need that Band-Aid ripped off so they can feel that pain. Because if they don't feel it, they're never going to address it. They're not going to know something's wrong with them. Because I would watch as my grandma got older, I would watch her interact with all my other relatives and the adults, and she never held back on any of them. And she just told them the way it was. And I remember thinking, God, that was kind of mean. And then I got to thinking, oh, after I watched whoever she said this to, they started to work on that. They would, like if it was my mom, when we'd leave being with my grandma, if my grandma said something about my mom, that was like brutally truth. When I was like in high school, she would always ask me, she would always say, hey, Danielle, do I do this? And I would always look at her and I would say, are you sure you can handle the truth? She would roll her eyes and she would say, I want to hear it. I'd say, okay. So then I get brutally honest like my grandmother did. I'd soften it though. I didn't just rip the Band-Aid off. I gently peeled it back so there was no pain. And then I watched her change those things. And I realized the more I watched these elderly people that just were not afraid to be bluntly honest, they were being real, how we should all be. And all I thought is, I want to be just like them. I want to have that much self-confidence. But here's the thing. You have to earn that self-confidence. You have to earn it because you can't just decide I'm going to be like that. You have to get to where you are totally self-confident to do that. And over the years, like in my adulthood, over the years, there were certain people that I would be brutally honest with and 100% real with. They didn't always like it, but I told them that I wouldn't really be somebody who loves you if I didn't tell you this. Do you know that this is how you look to other people? And they would be taken back by it for a moment, but then they would be like, oh my God, I'm recognizing that I do it. And I had already been doing this. I wanted to be told the weird, crazy things. Like my second ex-husband, this man could peg off every time I was hungry. And I'd be like, and I sometimes get so busy with what's going on in my day-to-day life that a whole day can go by and I realize, oh shit, I haven't eaten anything. I drink lots of water and I have my coffee in the morning, but it's how do you know every time that I'm actually hungry? And I would actually think about it. Or he'd ask me, he'd be like, are you hungry? And I'd be like, yeah, now that you say that, I am. Why are you saying that? For the longest time, he didn't tell me. And then one day I told him, look, I want to know why you say that. I don't care if it hurts my feelings. And he says, because you become kind of a bitch when you're hungry. And I went and I asked my sons, my kids, they were still kids at the time. But I went and asked them, I said, do I get moody and bitchy when I'm hungry? And they both looked at me and they're like, yeah, Mom. I was like, shit, I gotta work on this. Oh God, now that I'm aware, I gotta do something about it. So I'm a lot better. Sorry, my allergies are horrible. I'm a lot better with my making sure that I eat. I'm a whole lot more consistent with it than I was before. I kind of had to, when I started on this journey of self-discovery in 2020. I mean, I've been single since, so it's kind of like I had to learn to remind myself to eat and everything else. I didn't have somebody there to watch for me and make sure that I was eating. And there would be times in the beginning, every so often now still, where I'll get to the point where I'll be like, why do I have a headache? Because I don't get headaches all that often. Even with my allergies, it's pressure, but it's not a headache. So when a headache comes on, I'm like, why do I have a headache? And then I start thinking, oh, well, I haven't eaten anything. It doesn't happen like it used to. I've gotten it mainly under control. But the point that I'm making is that why aren't we like that with each other? It's because you have to build that self-confidence to be able to say things. Because you're brought up in a world, we all are. This is what preconditioning is. We're all brought up in a world that we were taught that we needed the approval of our peers and all the people that we had around us in our life. When the truth is, the only person that you have to prove yourself to and you have to be loyal and really value their opinion is the man upstairs. Nobody else's. If they really want you in their life, they're going to show you the respect that you deserve. And if not, the trash took itself out, so what do you care? We got to get to that point. And that's why I talk a lot about the preconditioning. If you can break the preconditioning, the you who you truly are just comes out. The person you were and you wanted to become, not necessarily career-wise, money-wise, anything like that, but the human being that you wanted to become. You had an idea of what type of adult you wanted to be. You did. And all of a sudden, things started happening, and as things started happening, you started believing that conditioning that they placed on you. And you took it in because you were seeking external approval, external validation. All of your validation should be internal because that's when you're on your walk with the man upstairs. He's going to guide you. He's going to give you the information that you need to be able to see and discern everything. That's why life gets better. But I always loved those little old ladies, and I used to joke that when I get old, I'm going to be just like them. Thing is, though, is I've kind of been brutally honest with people that knew me well enough, and I knew that they could handle my brutalness. Other people that I would say things to, I would be gentle, extremely gentle. I'd be like, hey, that kind of sounds like this, or hey, when you say that, it kind of makes you look this way. Is that what you were trying to show? And at that point, they're usually like, no. Oh, okay, well, here's why I thought that that's what it was. Maybe you could reword it somehow so people in the future, don't mistake it like I did. And they're always ever so grateful and thankful. And I run into them later and, and they're like, thanks. I didn't realize that I was being like that. Things in my life got a lot easier after you said that. And it wasn't that I had any special wisdom or knowledge over them. I just wasn't emotionally attached to the situation that they were in. So my being not emotionally attached, I could see the whole thing. Both sides. And so I would kind of give them a heads up like, hey, did you think this? And then they usually would go back and they'd be like, oh my God, that's exactly what our problem was. Everything's been great since then. I wasn't emotionally attached to their relationship. So I could see things, and it wasn't that I had any special powers. Anybody can do it. You just have to be real. You have to get on your walk with the man upstairs, because then the only validation that you need is internal through him. You could care less about external validation at all. It's irrelevant because it doesn't affect you. Their opinion is theirs, not yours. But you've been preconditioned to absorb it and take it on as if it was yours. It's not. Their opinion is their opinion. You have no business even knowing what their opinion is. So if they're going to tell you their opinion, why would you care? It's none of your business. They're only giving their opinion because they don't want to see you grow. They don't want to see you leave the spot that you're in their life. If they're manipulating and controlling you, they don't want you to leave. Then they have nobody to be a bully to. So let me know. Did you have one, two, several grandparents? Because, families get remarried and everything. So let me know if you had some grandmas that were like brutally honest. They were real. Because I had a grandma that I grew up around. I didn't know my other grandma. My mother didn't allow me around that side of the family as a child, but my grandmother never sugarcoated anything. She was brutal and honest, sometimes a little too harsh, but she always got her point across. And anyways, and everybody still loved her, so why wouldn't you want to be that? Why wouldn't you aspire to that? Anyways, let me know. I will let you go for now. I will see you in a day or two. Have a great night, guys. Love ya. Bye.